your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar. As the prophecy was once fed, opium-laced wood alcohol. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And that fucking movie sucked. I'm Broadcaster Nickels.
Wow. Broadcaster, before we get to the movie that you apparently do not like very much, I have some big news for you. You ready? Have your mind blown.
Bradley Cooper is Canadian.
In a shot heard around the world, Sony has purchased your beloved Bungie, the people that once sent you a frozen steak in the mail, Broadcaster. They're now owned by the evil empire of video games. What do you think?
Familiar with the Ouroboros?
I'm familiar with the term mutually assured destruction.
I feel like that was the second to last move in the end, towards the end of the story. I think Bungie is going to be the star that explodes and destroys our whole universe. They went Microsoft owned, then split to be independent, purchased by Activision Blizzard, split again, Activision Blizzard purchased by Microsoft, and they go on to be purchased by Sony.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. That feels like some stars aligning type shit. I feel like
it's weird to me, man. Like this whole
day is upon us.
This whole thing with Bungie is really weird to me. They get out of Microsoft ownership with like just in a very unprecedented manner. Like Microsoft just cut them loose, said, "You know what? Fine, just leave. Like we don't want anything from you. You just go, no penalties, no like we're retaining some of your talent or like any of the things you'd think that they would be like, well, you got to give us something." They just let Bungie out scot-free. And Bungie immediately
scot-free.
Yeah.
They kept Halo outright. Bungie didn't have any ownership of that IP that made him famous.
Yeah, but they don't give a fuck about Halo anymore anyway. They didn't want to make any more Halo games. That was a favor to them. They're like, good.
Well, I want to make Halo games. What do you mean? 343 immediately took the mantle up. They made Halo 4 and 5.
I saw interviews with Bungie after Halo Reach came out where like the developers were like, yeah, I've made a lot of Halos now. Like you could just tell in the way they talked about it that they were ready to move on.
Yeah, Bungie didn't want. I think Bungie threatened just to dismantle and all the people would have went their way. So I think they just were like, all right, well, because 343 existed around, I think they were created around Halo 2 or something like that to help Bungie out. So 343 was like sapping knowledge from them for quite some time.
Right.
By the time, that happened.
Yeah, my point is that from Bungie's perspective, them keeping Halo, they really don't. I don't think they gave two fucks about that. The thing that cracks me up, though, is that they just immediately jumped into bed with Activision after they just get this unprecedented release from Microsoft. They're like, we're going to jump right in bed with someone else. Thought that was weird. It was pretty immediate.
Nah, dude. I mean, Destiny 1 happened, and then the Activision merger happened like what?
Right after Destiny 1 came out.
Destiny 2?
No. It was before Destiny 2.
It was?
Yeah, Destiny 2 launched on the Blizzard launcher, man.
Destiny 1 didn't. Destiny 2 did.
Destiny 2 did. You just said that they merged after Destiny 2 came out.
Oh.
They did not. They merged way before that. I want to say that the merger happened like in the first year of release of Destiny 1. I think.
No.
Like right after the Wolves expansion came out, like the Iron Wolves or whatever that expansion was I quit on. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't.
What? It's the second expansion right after Rise of Crota. What the fuck was it?
Oh, Rise of Iron?
Okay, I guess, whatever. That one, I'm pretty sure the merger happened right after that. So it was early. Couldn't handle the rough waters of self-ownership and self-responsibility. They had to have the tentacles of some huge multi-billion-dollar corporation handling their business, broadcaster. I thought, you know what? It's kind of weak. Then they get out of Activision Blizzard scot-free. And I'm just like, wait a second, what? How do they keep doing this? Do they have like some crazy blackmail technique that they just keep employing? And
yeah, that's kind of weird.
You know, this time for sure, they learned their lesson this time, broadcaster. They're going to stay by themselves. They're going to do their own thing. They're going to go their own way. And now Sony owns them.
You ever played that game on the phone, Osmosis?
No.
I think that's what it's called. You just like a little amoeba, and you start making bigger amoebas until you're the only thing in the petri dish. That's what's happening in the gaming industry, kids.
Yeah.
Roblox is going to take us all.
So I've heard some debate about this, and I'm curious what you think. On the surface, this looks like an obvious revenge purchase from Sony after Microsoft bought Activision. But other people have chimed in, and they claim that no, there's no way they could have got the deal done that fast. Their stance on the issue is that you cannot do a deal like this in 1 week, which is how long it took from the purchase from Microsoft to the Sony purchase, was about 1 week. What do you think? Because to me, this is obviously a revenge purchase, and I think that Sony overpaid hardcore for them, and that's why the deal got done so fast. I think they just showed up at Bungie's door and they're like, listen, we're going to do this deal. We're going to pay you 3 times what you're worth. You're going to sign right now, or we're not going to do it. And they're like, fuck it, we're going to sign right now. That's my take. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know about any of that last stuff, but I could tell you that it just because the public visual outcome of these deals happened at a certain time doesn't mean that there was corporate espionage and chatter between, like, you know, middlemen between these companies telling certain people that these deals were going to go down. So it's very possible that the Bungie purchase by Sony was definitely retaliation. They could have easily found out that deal was happening long before any of the public found out. You know, so just because it takes a certain amount of time for these deals to go down doesn't necessarily rule out the fact that it was a direct retaliation purchase.
Yeah. So then you're with me. There's 0% chance this wasn't a revenge purchase.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But I mean, I don't think I didn't really look into the value of Bungie or anything like that, but I wouldn't really call it over purchased because Bungie's huge and Destiny's huge. I mean, Destiny is by most gamers' standards a dead game. Like, no one really talks about it. It's not big on any of the game streaming websites. But it still brings in like 300,000 active players a day. So,
yeah,
that's like in an off season, like when expansions and shit come out, like it's popping.
Yeah, okay. Listen,
so,
I know that you're a fanboy.
No, well, hear me out. That's just Destiny 2. They're buying Bungie and their IP. So they get to do whatever the fuck they want with Destiny after this. They could fucking dissolve Bungie and just fucking start making give Destiny to From Software.
Now that is an idea from your lips to Sony's executives' ears, broadcaster Nickels.
Give me Miyazaki in the room. Stat. I got cigars and whiskey.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing for me. first of all, $3.6 billion for a single developer. I don't think there's a single development studio on the planet that is worth $3.6 billion. None. Zero. I don't care who. I don't think From Software is worth $3.6 billion, and they're basically my favorite developer at this point. That's just astronomical for one single developer. Like, the Activision Blizzard deal was crazy, but you got to think there's like fucking 30 development studios in that deal. And maybe
the Bungie deal is
40.
a fraction of the Activision Microsoft deal.
It is, but it's for one developer. And the thing with Activision Blizzard is they have active revenue like in the billions. Like their revenue generation is in the billions. So fucking Bungie's is like not even, I don't even think they make in the hundreds of millions. I think they're super low in revenue generation.
Well, I mean, you could be totally true about that. I think these deals are long term, and 3.6 billion for what I can see a long term future of Sony acquiring Bungie is nothing. In fact, when I think about Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard in the long term plan and the 70 billion they paid pretty much for them, I think Sony's better off because A, they're more focused. They have one developer, and really from a like mainstream standpoint, one IP that they can focus on. But really, they have a few. Like Marathon is a huge connection to the Halo and Bungie universe that they own now. So
that's funny. I see what you're saying there. They could submarine some Halo even though they don't own it into
dude, exactly, dude. Like they could straight up like start like getting anyways, that's just a little pipeline, a little theory pipeline.
I agree with you.
If you look at Microsoft's history with like they acquired Bethesda how long ago now?
Dude, a year ago, right?
We've gotten one like 15-second trailer of a mountain saying Skyrim 5. Or sorry, Elder Scrolls 5. All right.
Skyrim 5. You're underselling that one. There's at least 15 Skyrim.
I was going to say, I think they're on Skyrim 7 now. But anyways, nonetheless, you get my point.
Yeah.
And they're still on Starfield or whatever the hell that game is on. We still haven't seen the full footage of that. There's all kinds of stuff. So Microsoft, it doesn't really have a strong history of handling their existing star-studded IP catalog, let alone getting a huge company's catalog like Activision Blizzard that they themselves, Activision Blizzard I'm speaking about, can't even fucking get their catalog going. So when you really look at the burden of the IP catalog they're getting over there and history proving that they have a lack of talent to even get one game out the door in a proper time and let alone have good feedback, you see where I'm going with this? Like, I feel like Sony looks stronger, they feel stronger, and this purchase seems more focused. Like they got a hammer ready to hit a nail, where Microsoft is like trying to do all this stuff to put on a show. Like, look at all the stuff we have.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't view Bungie with a lot of respect anymore. I think they're a shell company basically, and I feel like Sony just bought a shell company. I do agree with you on like everything you just said, and it just further convinces me that this is a revenge purchase, because I don't think anyone would pay this unless it were for personal reasons like this. I think that Bungie would have taken $1 billion if let's just say this was a year ago and none of the Microsoft purchases have happened yet, and Sony just came out of nowhere and said, "We want to buy you for $1 billion." I think they would have taken it a year ago.
Maybe.
I think they would have been like, "Oh, we're getting one over on these guys too. We're not worth that much." But I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping and I'm not respecting them enough, but when I look at Destiny 2 and I look at what they're doing and how like they can't make new content and they just struggle making new content, and like you hear these rumors like, "Oh, it takes 18 hours to load a map in the Destiny 2 editing engine." It's just like there's so much weirdness with them. I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, I think but the the story of Bungie is kind of like the story of Icarus. You know, it's
Yes.
just kind of most of the stories in the shadows, and the public can't see it. But I mean, I've always gotten the vibes from Bungie when I was a teenager. Like they're always an edgy company. They always had like a company manifesto on their website, and like trying to take over the world, and like they had weird Easter eggs that span decades, stuff like all kinds of weird stuff. And I think they just were eventually they got caught thinking their shit didn't smell, like
Yeah.
I think they thought they could leave Microsoft and be big bad independent, developer studio and change the industry, which I kind of hoped they did, but they didn't. And I think that's pretty much the story of Bungie. That's why they had to go with Activision Blizzard eventually, and then they eventually left again, which kind of proves my point where they still had that like independent spirit. They're like, all right, round 2, guys, we can do it this time.
Yeah. Well, my biggest takeaway from all this is if Microsoft decides to make Call of Duty an Xbox exclusive, Destiny instantly becomes a Sony exclusive. This is mutually assured destruction.
That's kind of what we're talking
War.
about, right? The whole point, retaliation purchase, because that's what the retaliation purchase really implies. It's a safeguard for exactly that.
Indeed. Speaking of Bungie, there's a little company that took over Halo recently, broadcaster called 343 Studios. And, they might have released a flawed game, but, they're going to release a perfect TV series now to make up for it, broadcaster. Halo, the series. Are you ready to watch the trailer?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Paramount Plus. Will John Luke?
Strong Asian woman.
You.
Maybe Q will show up?
That might be a boy, I don't know.
His best weapon.
Listen, dude, don't assume their gender. Or
Master Chief, huh?
Oh, yeah. I wonder who's financing this film. It's definitely Chinese money.
well, Master Chief is in it,
To
so
win this war.
that's cool.
Ooh,
I guess.
that's Halsey. Halsey's pretty hot. I
Yeah.
can dig it. Oh, pink hair. Boom.
Ooh, the sword. Yes, I'm in.
He's lethal.
I like how the elites look. Look pretty good.
And most
Ooh,
importantly,
yeah.
Definitely taking their liberties with the armor.
Covenant forces appear to be excavating some kind of object.
This isn't video game accurate, guys.
When I touched the object,
Ooh.
I felt something.
I like the effects.
I don't like the motherfucker's voice.
What they did to us
Oh,
makes you numb.
that guy. He's in everything
You
now.
just decided to help me. Why would a Spartan do that?
What does one do with a superhuman you're not sure you can trust?
Damn, is that Keys?
Hello, Master Chief. I'm Cortana.
What?
Where's Hot Cortana? This is
Get
bullshit.
her out of here now. We need a...
Bullshit.
Can we get the Sonic the Hedgehog treatment with Cortana, please?
Yes.
Halo.
Who the fuck is that?
What is this music?
Surrender to
Oh, yeah. Strong female.
Cortana, I'm gonna need you.
Was that the chick from G4 that just, like, ruined G4's comeback?
You mean Frostkun?
Yeah.
Or what the fuck her name?
Is that what her name is?
Frostkin?
Frostkun?
Frostkun. Frostkun.
So,
Sorry.
a female cover of "Feel It in the Air Tonight." Cool. So there
I
was
just
a
wanna
lot of
rewind.
woman
Like,
power in that trailer, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
like
a lot of
dude,
woman power.
I love parts like this. Let me see what part this is on here. Right around 144, dude. This shit kills me, and they can't write a story anymore. They just can't. They can't do it anymore. They're just like, dude, these conversations in these rooms, man. There's like, so we have to have a woman with short hair, and she has to be powerful, maybe even more powerful than the character everyone's paying to see. How do we make that happen?
So in episode 2, she's going to murder Master Chief and take his helmet.
She looks like she's in control of, well, those worms. I don't know. Those worms could be the worms that the hunters in the Covenant are made out of. I don't know. Or they're like flood worms. Who knows? But she's clearly in control of them. She's clearly strong and independent.
She's clearly
and doesn't need no man. Doesn't need no Master Chief.
Yeah, and she has that haircut that all of like the I Am Woman Hear Me Roar people on the internet use now. It's where it's shaved on the sides and the back, and they have like a weird little. It's almost like a mullet, but not quite because it's not long enough to be a mullet. It's like if you'd made a mullet and then shaved the back and cut it so it didn't quite go all the way down the back, and it like just waves up top. What is that fucking haircut?
I don't know. Lesbian shit.
You never see it in real life, but if you go on to woke YouTube, you'll see it once every 2 seconds. Well, broadcaster, how psyched are you? You ready?
No.
For Halo the series.
First of all, I'm going back through this thing, right?
Don't relive the trauma. Don't.
And I'm noticing some. Well, some things that just kind of stick out to me, and these are things I saw on the internet floating around. And the first thing I know is at the very end of the trailer, when they're showing the battle rifles, there's a guy with a pistol in his hand, right? And there's a very famous pistol in Halo 2, just as famous as the BR. It's, it could be the Halo Magnum from CE. It could be the Sidekick from Halo. It could be numerous pistols, right?
Mm.
But he's actually holding a real life pistol. It looks like a Beretta, maybe. It's totally a modern pistol.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so.
Hey, they don't have that big of a budget, man. Come on.
I didn't see it, but there's like a meme going around that says there's a Chevy Tahoe in this trailer.
Are
somewhere.
you kidding me? Oh, I missed that, but I don't.
I didn't see it either. So, but if that's not an actual troll, then goddamn, they got some work to do.
Yeah, I think the only thing about the trailer I liked was the Covenant using the sword. That little 2-on-1 fight was pretty sick with the.
That's actually where the Chevy Tahoe is. I just paused it there.
Oh God, are you kidding me?
The Chevy Tahoe's in the background when they're swinging at Master Chief.
You are fucking kidding me.
It's right there, dude.
Bruh. How does that happen in 2022?
There's no fucking way that car matches anything from that part in time in the universe. There's no fucking way,
dude.
Oh yeah, they have. Yeah, that was the other thing I remember. Someone was saying there's like the Resistance has AKs.
Huh?
Yeah, they have AK rifles.
Okay.
Yeah, if you rewind, look at they have AK rifles.
This is shovelware. Okay, this is fucking shovelware. This isn't real. This is just a joke.
If you really look at it, I think they got repurposed golf carts as some of their vehicles in this shot too.
Okay, I think what we need to do is sort of reframe our expectations. Maybe we need to watch this more as like the way that we watch Resident Alien, perhaps. You know what I mean? Like, let's reframe our expectations here. We're not watching Dune. We're watching Resident Alien.
Yeah.
This is a comedy.
Life is a comedy.
Holy shit, broadcaster. I don't know what to say right now. When you told me that Chevy was in there, I thought you were bullshitting me. I really thought that you were bullshitting me. My God.
That's
all the opportunities they could have had to scrub that. Like, you could have CG'd that out of the trailer so easily on such a small budget. The fact that they didn't, to me, means this is like ridiculously low budget, or they want it there. They actually want it there.
No, I just want to be clear. They definitely do want it there.
Oh,
like
God.
it had like aged debris over it. They clearly wanted people to know that it had been there for like, a year or two, or it's been broken down like ever since, the Resistance started stockpiling or whatever happened there, which means it only was there for like in, a time span of decades, not fucking, centuries where the Chevy Tahoe would have came from.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's, I think I've said this before. Creatively bankrupt is what I call most of these people that make this schlock.
I don't even know why are they even making this? If you can't do this right, why do it at all? This is not
Halo. Dude, they've been trying to make a Halo TV series for so long. For so long, man. I mean, they've been talking about a Halo TV series since Halo 3, I think. And it's just never got off the ground. I think this is just someone over at Microsoft has a real hard-on for this TV series.
Oh, man. Well, maybe you should have fucking talked to Elon Musk and got a couple cyber trucks or something.
No shit,
What
dude.
the
No
fuck?
shit. That would have been a really great plug.
Dude, and
Awesome
everyone
plug.
would have loved it too. No one would be memeing it like they'd be like, "Oh, there's a Chevy truck." They'd be like, "Oh, dude, they got cyber trucks from Elon." Everyone would be psyched about it. So stupid. Oh man.
Kind of makes you. I mean, it just sets the bar, right? You're like, well, fuck. What are the warthogs going to look like in close-up and scenes? Are there going to be any like spacecrafts or flying vehicles? Or
And let's not forget that. What do you think the demographic for Halo is, like gender-wise? It's probably like 98% male, 2% female. Do you think that's about right?
You'd be surprised.
Okay, let's go 90-10. Let's go 90-10.
Yeah,
does that sound good?
90. Well, let's go 90-10.
Okay, let's go 90-10. There were 90-10 females to male in that trailer. There was like 15 women and one man in a helmet that you actually couldn't see he was a man. What the fuck is going on here, broadcaster?
I don't know, dude. I don't get it.
What? And of course, they go with the worst version of Cortana. Just like, man.
Yeah, and the thing is like, I actually work directly with like two, like they both, like one just turned 21 and one just turned 18, I think. So he's still a teenager technically, right? And these kids want nothing to do with Halo.
Fuck, of course, right? It's boomer shit.
They play video games though. One plays like Forza all the time. The other one plays Warzone. They like video games, but every time I bring up Halo, they're just like, one of them like always just kind of tries to clown on me, but he's fucking looks like Sideshow Bob from fucking The Simpsons, so he has no ground to stand on, and I remind him of that every time. But nonetheless, the other way, it's just they think it's like they have this attitude like it's a boomer game type of thing. You know? So it's like this TV show, which is clearly aimed to garner new fans, is nonsense. No one cares. Like these companies need to learn that these old brands that make them money are slowly going to make them less and less money. And it's their responsibility to make those existing brands keep those existing brands going as well as they can to make as much money off of them as possible, knowing who their demographics are. Meanwhile, using that money to fund new IPs, which new fans will then grow
I'd rather
up
have new
under
IPs
and
from
like.
them at this point.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's go with that, actually.
but you get my point here. It's just
I do.
It's so dumb of these people to be like, let's take this brand that all these people that are now 30 and 40 like, and try to package it for teenagers that are on TikTok or whatever. It's
it is pure retardation. I don't understand what's happening. I'm not sure if this is just total ignorance or if it's like with what's happened with newspapers and the media, where they know that they lose money. they don't care that they lose money. They're there for the propaganda purpose, not to make money. So I don't know if it's like that now in the TV and movie industry, or if it's just like these guys are so out of touch and they just hear some, fucking 25-year-old out of fucking BYU, or not BYU. BYU's way more base than that. Arizona State. Some 25-year-old blonde chick from Arizona State who's like, oh yeah, that haircut is the hotness and everyone wants all women in their shows and that is where all the money is. And then like some CEOs just like, let's go with that. I don't know. What do you think?
I think these people are extremely out of touch. I think that they have it's just sheer arrogance. They think they have this golden goose egg. The torch gets passed in the corporate ladder, and eventually these people that are so far removed from the original creation of these golden goose eggs, that they just think they can keep milking it indefinitely, not investing anything into them. And that's where all these companies have failed. All the Goliaths, all these giant beasts that you thought would just, go 20 years back, and you're just like, man, when we're 30, if they're still making, if it's Call of Duty 12 or whatever they're on now, technically, you think, man, dude, the features that they'll have developed and like all this shit, it's going to be insane, dude. We don't even have some of the features they made 10 years ago, dude. Yep. Like they're struggling on a fundamental level to make something even as great as they made 10, 15, 20 years ago.
And that's the business model now, though. That's the thing that's sinister about it. Just look at your boys at Destiny 2, Bungie. They're literally gating their content that's been out for fucking 5 years, saying, oh, this is now in the vault, and one day we're going to resell it to you again in the future when you forget you paid for it before. It is sinister.
Yeah. I don't even think they fucking gave people enough time to forget about it. There's fucking lapdogs, dude. They suck it up. It's crazy. When I saw that 30th anniversary bundle when we were going to hop back into Destiny 2, it's 30th anniversary. It's $29.99. $1 per year. Get it? And they're vaulting a very famous weapon you got for free with Destiny 1. They're releasing 2 dungeons they gave you in year 5 of Destiny 2 from the vault. So they made you pay for content, then they took it away, and they're giving it back to you for a price. That's crazy. All within like less than 3 years. This wasn't even, dude. That's just crazy to me.
It is. And what do you think? What do you think Bungie thinks about this TV show? Because clearly they have nothing to do with it. They don't own Halo, as we discussed earlier. But they have some thoughts on it, right? Like they did create Halo. Do you think that they are happy with this trailer? Do you think they are upset with it? Or do you think they are just so sick of Halo they don't give 2 shits?
I mean, I don't know who works at Bungie anymore.
Is it just a total shell company now? Is there no one left from the original team?
I think there's like one person at Bungie and 343, like Joe Staten at 343. He was at Bungie for a while. He left with Bungie from Microsoft to create Destiny. He was one of the guys that made the original Destiny storyline that people theorize about to this day. And then he left. I think that's kind of the situation at both companies, though. I think Bungie has like one old school Halo guy there, maybe like no more than 3, like a really limited vanguard at both companies. But none of like the people, when you think about the people that made Halo, like the handful of people that people would agree are the lifeblood of Halo, those people aren't around.
Yeah.
Like I think something Leto, I forget his name. He made that shitty game Disintegration that we played.
Oh God, Disintegration.
Josh Leto or John Leto? I don't know. I forget. And then there's Chris Lee, I think was his name. Not Christopher Lee. He's an Asian guy. Chris Lee, I think was his name. And then there's Joe Staten, and then There's one more famous guy I'm thinking of.
All right,
yeah,
so
Marty O'Donnell, of course.
I think the
Made
point
music.
here is that no one at Bungie really cares anymore about Halo because none of them actually worked on Halo. I have
Yeah.
no fucking clue. All right, that works. Man, sad stuff, broadcaster. My final question to you on this vaunted new Halo television series is, as you know, here in the Crack Cellar, we have crackpot theories all the time. It's basically what we do, broadcaster. And today I would like to ask you, what is your crackpot theory about the future of the Halo television series? What absurd level do you think this TV show will go to?
Absurd level? I don't think it's going to be absurd at all. They're just going to rewrite the origin story of how certain stuff happened, and it's going to make it one season, 1,000%, and get canceled.
Dude, that's like the normie take, though. Everyone has that take. We all know it's going to get canceled. Come on, man. Dig deep.
All right. Listen.
I know it hurts you too much. You
John
got so many
Spartan
Steaktacular
117.
awards.
John Spartan 117 is going to take his hot, steamy helmet off. And digital. You guys ever seen Demolition Man? Remember when Sylvester Stallone was mind-fucking Sandra Bullock?
That's all I
He's
can
going to
remember.
do that with Cortana. And then the real Cortana, Halsey, is going to find it or like feel it in some weird mind meld, scientific type shit, you know? And then she's going to get a sexual attraction for the boy she abducted long ago and turned into a super soldier to fuck up the resistance. Yeah, that's right, kids. John 117 was made to fuck up domestic terrorists, not the Covenant. But it was convenient that aliens came around and united humanity just in time for people not to die by other humans.
Yeah, it reminds me of.
And I think that's exactly what this series is going to try to rewrite. That whole idea that Spartans were made originally to kill other humans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what that Ronald Reagan speech was, right? You know, back in the day. Imagine if an alien species came down and attacked us, how it would bring us all together. And then Bungie's like, you know what? We're going to run with that, Ronald. Thank you.
Well, I thought we were in agreement that Bungie was a CIA operation. They were funded back in Harvard or whatever.
Back in Harvard, yes.
You know. As a DARPA spinoff, you guys, the people in the teams would get it.
What office do I have to hold? Broadcaster, I have my own crackpot theory about Halo the series, and it all stems from the Chevrolet. You know what, Broadcaster? Think about the cornerstone of what you just discussed with the origination of the Spartan, that there was a counter-terrorist unit. Now, think about this. What did terrorists in the Middle East drive around in? Toyota trucks. It's like infamous that all the terrorists drive Toyota Tundras or whatever those little small Toyota trucks are. You've seen hundreds of pictures. You've seen videos. They all drive them. Everyone always wonders, where the fuck do these terrorists get all these Toyota trucks? And Toyota's like, well, fuck, we don't know. And don't look at us. It's just one of those things where you're just like, okay, well, whatever. I think this is no coincidence, Broadcaster. I think Toyota is funding this television series. I think it's all Toyota money. And I think this is what they said. They said, you're going to give the terrorists Chevys. And Paramount Plus was like, as long as we can fill the cast with strong women, you got a deal. And we are going to see the Spartans, led by Master Chief. We're going to see them ride these Chevys. And you're going to be like, wait a second. I thought the terrorists drive the weird trucks with the sand damage. Then they're gonna be like, That's right. Guess what, motherfucker? The Spartans are the terrorists and the strong women are the heroes. And we're going to see like strong woman 1 through 5 do a seance and like summon lightning above Master Chief and just vaporize his fleet of Chevys. And that's the end, broadcaster. And at the very end, you're going to see in the very end of the credits of this show, promotional consideration provided by Toyota.
Lesbians of America.
Lesbians of America and Toyota. Okay.
I mean, my idea is better.
I mean, you're like, well,
mine definitely has more pizzazz, more sexual tension, emotion, character building.
dude, I tell you what,
destroying. I would say,
if at any point in this show they kill the woke Cortana and they replace her with was it Halo 5 or 4 Cortana, the one that was like the fucking slut who wore a bikini and was hot as fuck? Which one was
You're
that?
thinking of Halo 2 and 3 Cortana.
No, it was 4. I think it was 4.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it was 4. The 1 in 2 and 3 was hot, but the 1 in 4 was like literally like a stripper, if I recall. Like it was like you looked at it, you're like, oh, this is a sex sells thing. Like it was really on the nose.
Still does. I wish they'd get that.
Yeah, I if they do that, I think they could redeem this TV series with that one act. They're just like some hacker goes in like, this isn't the real Cortana. We have to, Neo from the Matrix shows up and starts doing this Mr. Anderson shit on the 90s computer.
No, they don't even have to do that, dude. They don't even have to do that. Remember, Sonic the Hedgehog. That's just a trailer, guys. That's all digital. We can make this work, all right? Remove. Let's just open up that blouse a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone listening to this, go on Twitter and do @Bungie # Sonic the Hedgehog.
Make Cortana fuckable.
All right, broadcaster. Are you ready to talk about the movie that you have already glowingly endorsed in our intro? Nightmare Alley.
I mean, I gotta take a shit.
And we're back with our review of Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley. And the creator of this film noir describes it as the following: an ambitious carny with a talent for manipulating people with a few well-chosen words hooks up with a female psychiatrist who's even more dangerous than he is. Broadcaster, I think everyone listening to this podcast who didn't jump ahead on YouTube with a timestamp already knows your feelings about this movie. But why don't you sum it up for us, broadcaster? What's your take on Guillermo del Toro's masterpiece of film noir?
It's long and boring.
It is really long, isn't it? It could have been cut down at least 40 minutes.
I feel like it really took away from the whole thing because you just found yourself like feeling like the film was going nowhere. Mm-hmm. Like Molly being as pivotal in all the scenes that she was in, and then switching to Kate Blanchett, and I don't know, and big names like Ron Perlman and Willem Dafoe hanging around there and stuff like that. I don't know, man. And then the whole thing at the end was like the big moment was him being a geek, a homeless man on his last leg getting asked to be a geek at the carnival. Like that's, I don't know. No one knew what a geek was before watching this movie. I don't think anybody watching this movie would, in hindsight, would look back to that moment and be like, "Oh yeah, that was a pretty pivotal moment for the character, wasn't it?" Like he really felt bad for that geek.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know, man. It just seemed like a letdown to me.
Yeah.
especially for 2.5 hours. Like that was not good. No good payoff. Really slow pace. Kate Blanchett is hot as fuck in this movie.
Yeah, let's start with that, Broadcaster,
so-
because that is my number one takeaway from this movie is that holy fuck, Kate Blanchett is aging like the finest wine that ever existed. She is so hot in this movie. I think she's hotter in this movie than she was in 2000 when she filmed Lord of the Rings, like 21 years ago. I swear to God, that bitch is hotter now. It's the craziest thing. She is a box.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
And
that's
the direction.
only 5 stars this movie gets in the category.
I think that the direction of this movie is amazing. Like the colors, I think that he portrays film noir perfectly in this movie in terms of color saturation, direction, film angles, all that sort of thing. I think where he falls off, first of all, the music. The music was a dud. I don't know what happened with this movie's soundtrack, but it just wasn't good. And film noir always has good music. That's the first big letdown. Number 2, you just really touched on the length. This movie did not need to be 2.5 hours long at all. In fact, I think it was 2:40, right? It was more than 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, no, it went over.
Not needed. You could have easily cut 40 minutes out of this, made it a tight
Easy.
2 hours, and it would have been a much better movie. This is where hubris comes in, where Guillermo del Toro has a lot of fans now, and he has a lot of clout in Hollywood, and I think this is one of those times where you need a no man, not a yes man. Like when he's like, 2 hours, 40 minutes isn't too long for this movie, right, guy? And that guy's like, oh, of course, Guillermo, you're the man. You know, he needed someone to be like, actually, bro, you're tripping.
Yeah.
And pass him a joint.
Was this based on a true story?
This is based on a book from the 30s. And there was, or no, maybe no. It's
Which probably means it's a true story.
It is a book from the 40s. Because it takes place in the 30s, but the book was written in the 40s, and then I think the first movie adaptation of this book was in the 50s. So this is the second version of this book in movie form. But, you know, no one's going to watch a fucking movie from the 50s who's even alive right now, right? Like, how many people who are alive in the year 2022 are willing to go back and watch a movie from the 40s or 50s? Like, that is real dedication to, like, ancient
I mean,
film.
I think you can only go back, like, 20 years max from where you were born.
That's
in
what
a
I
given
think, too.
time. You know, like, anything past that, I think you really start to get so far removed. It's like me trying to watch Gone with the Wind. Or something like that. What was it? Is it Gone with the Wind?
Yeah, I would use a better example, though, because me and you, we don't really like movies like Gone with the Wind anyway, but we do like good sci-fi. So think about, like, the original War of the Worlds. That's a sci-fi. It's a classic sci-fi. It's in both of our wheelhouses. I don't think either of us would go back and watch it because it's just too fucking old. Like, it's just too fucking old, and I love sci-fi, but I just can't do it. I agree with you. I've been watching Knight Rider recently, and that was actually made in the early 80s before I was born, but not much before, just like 4 or 5 years before I was born. And it is rough to watch, dude. It is rough.
It really?
Dude, the effects are so cheesy. Like, it is so hard to watch. The special effects are like a joke. It's like if you saw them today, you'd be like, these people are joking, right? This is like a parody. That's what you would think watching. But, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, but you wouldn't say that about Miami Vice or Magnum PI, would you?
No. And speaking of, I want to bring up another positive element of this movie. Our boy Pete, who is the guy who teaches Bradley Cooper how to be a confidence man, or no, that's not really a confidence man. What do they call they have a word for it in the movie. Mentalist, yeah. Teaches him how to be a mentalist. Yeah. That is our boy David Stratham, who is oh god, what was his character's name in The Expanse? I love him in The Expanse. Ashford. He's Ashford in The Expanse. He is amazing. He and by the way, he was in Miami Vice back in the day. He's been in so much shit. He was in like A Midnight Summer's Dream, The Blacklist, Fucking.
Oh, he's a great actor.
He was in Godzilla. He was in fucking.
The chick that gave him the hand job in the bathtub was a good actress too.
Yeah, yes. Also, he was, dude. I don't know if you ever saw this '90s movie called L.A. Confidential. Did you ever see that?
I'm trying to think.
Dude, he was in that, and I think
Does that have Antonio Banderas?
No.
Benicio?
It has Kevin Spacey and Russell Crowe and Danny DeVito, but Kim Basinger's in it, and this is when Kim Basinger was a fucking fox, and David Strathairn was in that too, and he was fucking amazing in it. He's one of those actors that you don't think you've heard of or know, but then like if you were to look at his IMDb, you'd just be like, oh fuck, he's been in everything. And he was really good in this movie. He played like the sympathetic old man who was in love with this woman who thought she was still in love with him, but she clearly wasn't. Like the second Bradley Cooper showed up, she threw him in the bathtub and jerked him off like in 2 seconds. Like it's just like, okay. And this guy is all like, such a gentleman. He like leaves and like kisses her hand and does like the au revoir, like French shit. Like, and she just like turns around and just starts fucking anything that moves. I feel for him in this movie, and I thought that his acting performance was just eloquent. It was just a great acting performance from him, especially the moment when Bradley Cooper walks in and delivers his booze and says, "You know what, sir? I want to learn from you." And like the way he reacts, where he's just like, "Oh, no one's wanted to learn from me in a long time," and like. I'm a horrible actor, obviously, but the way he delivers this line back to him, I'm just like, that is real. That is some real shit right there.
It's old man energy.
It was good. I really liked him in it. I really, really, really didn't like Ron Perlman in this. First of all, Ron Perlman is a punk bitch in real life, and so it's hard to watch him in anything now. Putting that aside, Ron Perlman's acting performance in this movie was fucking throwaway garbage. They shouldn't have even paid him.
His character was a throwaway.
It was a throwaway character. His entire claim to fame in this movie is he shows up in a scene to threaten Bradley Cooper if Bradley Cooper like hurts the love interest. What was her name again?
Molly.
Was it Molly? I thought it was like Margaret or something. Or maybe it was Molly. Yeah, Molly. Okay. If you hurt Molly, I'm going to give you all 5 fingers. Like, that's his moment in the movie. And it's just like the cringiest, most wooden acting. He sucks so bad in this movie. I don't even know why they cast him.
I don't know why they casted a lot of the big names in this movie. All he needed was Cate Blanchett. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, God. She was the star of this movie. I'm sorry, Bradley Cooper. I like you as an actor. I think you're in a lot of good movies.
I deserve her.
But Cate Blanchett, man, holy fuck, that woman. I don't even know. I mean, like, she's probably like 30 years older than Molly, and I would take her over Molly in a heartbeat. Like, that's...
Bradley Cooper made that same decision.
He did. He made that call, too, and I respect him for it.
What was his name? Carlisle? Mr. Carlisle? Is that the character's name?
You talking about Bradley Cooper's character?
Yeah.
I think it was Stan, right? I think they called him Stan.
Was it Stan Carlisle?
It might have
They always
been.
said his last name.
I only remember hearing Stan. I don't remember hearing a Carlisle, but you could be right. I don't know. This was a long movie. It's hard to keep up with what every character is calling each other. There are a lot of characters in this movie too. There are 2 distinct halves. The first half of the movie completely takes place at a carnival when Bradley Cooper's younger. The second half takes place totally different. It reminds me of another old movie called was it Metropolis or Metropolitan? There was this old school movie back in the day that had like these really sharp looking buildings like from the 30s, similar to the way they depict the second half of this movie, where like the building that Cate Blanchett's character like works in, that building, like all the buildings were like that in Metropolis.
Liminal.
Yeah, like they have that look that it's hard to describe, but like when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that look.
Yeah. It's
Which half did you like the most, the first half or the second half? Because they're totally different. You could almost call this two movies. The first half could be its own movie, and the second half could be the sequel to that movie.
I don't know, because the most pumped I was for the movie was at the very beginning when he he burned down the house and then he got on the bus and he fell asleep and he woke up and I saw the carnival through the windows and stuff. I was like, oh, dude, this is a really cool intro.
It reminded me of a Goosebumps book. Like if they made an adult Goosebumps book.
But then pretty much that whole segment of the movie kind of let me down. Willem Dafoe did a really good job.
Yeah, he was fine.
Them chasing down the geek was, it wasn't bad. It was kind of a cool little thing. Them going into the funhouse. I expected a little bit more horror from it, in that regards. But I guess that was just my expectations. But for the most part, that half of the movie was kind of boring. It was kind of just a setup for him to learn the skill needed for him to really tell the story of his character, which is him turning into essentially a criminal, a fraud. And getting mixed up with an even crazier fraud. I wouldn't call her a fraud. She's just fucking a criminal.
But you're talking about Cate Blanchett, right?
Yeah.
Dude, she carried this movie so hard.
Absolutely.
Think about if
Bradley Cooper wasn't that bad.
He was good, but he was understated. And I think the role meant for him to be. One thing I noticed about the beginning of this movie, Bradley Cooper does not actually have a line in the first 30 minutes of this movie. He's just silent. He makes head nods.
The first time he says anything is in the geek chase. When the first line he says is to the geek.
Yep.
He says, "Hey, come on out of there. I don't have anything against you."
Yeah.
Or whatever he says.
Yeah, it was 30 minutes into the movie, I think. It was a long time, for the most, and I think that's what you're talking about, where you thought you were excited at the beginning with the intro and you're like, "Oh, this looks good." I think that there was an element of what's happening here early on, because the way the movie starts with him putting a body in a house and then burning the house down, walking away from it, getting on a bus, falling asleep, then waking up at there was this element to me, and I don't know if this was how it was for you, but early on, what we're talking about with the bus ride, I looked at that and I'm like, okay, this could be a situation where he's already dead and he's in a purgatory right now, reliving the crimes that brought him to hell sort of situation. He may not even really be alive. This may not be real. He could there's a lot of these sort of esoteric existential thoughts in my head kind of rolling around early on. But as the movie progresses, it makes it clear that no, this is really happening. Everything is on the level. There's no mystery here. And that's kind of where I don't want to say I lost interest in the movie, but it's where my interest was tamed.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're churching it up because you like this movie more than me.
Well, I thought there were okay, so this is the way I'll put it. Early on, I thought there were supernatural elements to this movie. I didn't understand what they were, what was happening, but I thought they were there. There are absolutely no supernatural elements in this movie.
Well, yeah, I think they purposely did that, but then they purposely dissolved all that, in the progression of the storyline. It only served for the moment he started talking, it shifted away.
It did. Yep, that's exactly
the whole atmosphere, because you're just oh, okay, he actually is kind of just a dullard that's going to learn a skill and eventually become a fucking criminal sociopath.
Yeah. So you never answered though. What first half or second half? What's your favorite half of the movie?
Second half for sure.
Okay, good. Me too. Even though I agree with you on the promise of the first half, it was quelched pretty quick.
Him like making Molly put the blood on her hands and shit like that. I was cracking up that whole thing.
That was
like,
great.
I was like, this guy is committed to the grift, dude. He is fucking committed.
Yeah. And one thing I'll say is kind of weird to me, and this is probably just like a book fact that they just had to stick to. But when they did the second half skip, when they go 2 years later and the second half of the movie starts.
2 years later.
I was looking at it, I'm like, nah, this is 10 years later. This is not 2 years later. When you look at Bradley Cooper, the way they're portraying him, the way he looks, the way she looks, like the discontent in their relationship, you're like, no, this isn't 2 years later. This is like 8 years later. This is 9 years later. But they said 2 years later, and I thought that was a mistake. And I think they're probably just sticking with a fact from the book. In the book, they skipped 2 years. But when you really look at this movie itself, I think it should have been longer. It didn't make sense. Like, Bradley Cooper legitimately looks a lot different when they go to the second half. Like, he does not look like the same person almost.
Well, the grift can do a lot to you, especially if it's a successful grift and you're making money.
It can. Man, what did you think about Mary Steenburgen showing up? That was really weird. I haven't seen her in anything in like since Curb Your Enthusiasm season 3 or whatever back in like 2004. I haven't seen her in anything. Mary Steenburgen, she was the wife of
she was Kimball's wife.
Yes, she was Kimball's wife, and she was the thing that you'll probably remember her from is Back to the Future 3, the one that takes place in the Western. You've seen that, right?
Yeah, she was
the love interest. She was Doc's love interest in Back to the Future 3.
Yeah, but she was also, fun fact, Kimball and the actor that played Kimball and what's her name again?
Mary Steenburgen.
Mary Steenburgen, they were the mother and dad and stepbrothers.
Oh my God, you're right. Holy shit. I did not realize that.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed was they were both in the show or the movie. I was like, oh snap, that's kind of cool for them to reunite in that way.
Yeah, man, I did not recognize Kimball as the dad. Like they made him look a lot different, but you're right. That was fucking him.
Yeah, for sure. He wears a wig well.
Damn,
and a beard.
That's crazy. I think this movie does do a lot of things right. I think that if they shortened it, like we said, if they brought it down to a crisp 2 hours, I think both of us would probably have different ratings for this movie in the end. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not a terrible movie. It doesn't have like the worst writing in the world. It doesn't have the worst direction in the world. I mean,
no.
it could definitely improve with the direction because again, they could have cut 40 plus minutes out of this movie. So that definitely puts some onus on the direction.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it's solid writing. It's a good story.
It was.
Great actors. None of the actors were poor in that movie.
No one was bad. No. Ron Perlman was bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, he only had 2 minutes of dialogue.
He did, but he did not make anything out of it. Like his role in that movie is a fucking joke, and I'm just laughing my ass off at him. Like, why would you even take it? He must be desperate for roles because he was Hellboy. Like he was a leading, for him to take this 2-minute role in a 3-hour movie, where he does nothing but make a joke out of himself. I'm just like, God damn, man. What happened?
That's his default mode now.
I guess, man. Willem Dafoe, on the other hand, he's mostly only in the first half. There is one scene in the second half where they all come back and visit. And I'll say this about that scene. When this scene happened, for a second or two, I was thinking maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the supernatural elements started to come back to my head where I'm like, maybe something is going on here, because I thought it was really weird how they just showed up from across the country. And got to remember, this takes place in the 30s. This is not trains, planes, and automobiles. This is the fucking old days when it wasn't easy to travel across country in the fucking winter. And they all just show up in Where does this take place? The second half? Do you know? Like, is it supposed to be New York? I don't know where it's supposed to be set.
I think it is New York.
Okay, yeah, I think it's somewhere in New York. It's supposed to be set there, and when they just show up like that, and they're just all in the room with his girlfriend that he like stole from them to bring to the big city that he is like currently like planning on cheating on with Kate Blanchett, which we can't blame him. Blame him.
No way.
This was a weird moment where it's like, yeah, if this weren't real, if this was supernatural, if he was in purgatory, this is what would happen. He would be confronted with this in this exact way. And I sort of got excited for a minute, but then it ends quickly and nothing comes of it. And you're just like, okay, never mind. Nothing really happened with it. Like, was there any implication from that whole scene, like, that really mattered for the rest of the movie? I can't think of any. It was almost just like, we need to get these guys in one scene in the second half. That's almost what it felt like.
Yeah, it's like it definitely had a contractual feel to it, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. I don't know. It could, again, it's all based off a book, and I don't know that when you told me how many times it's been redone. It makes me kind of think that it's kind of this weird, like, actors movie, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'll bet
it's not one, like, we'll totally get, but actors love it for some reason because it has, like, a weird Hollywood history or something like that. And that's why you see people like Ron Perlman and Willem Dafoe ready to do, like, you know, small bit parts and stuff like that.
Yeah, and speaking of, there's a connection here. Originally, Leonardo DiCaprio was going to play the main character of this movie. By the way, I will tell you right now, Guillermo del Toro, good job not casting him, because he would have sucked as this character. This was not a Leonardo DiCaprio character. He made the right choice. I don't know why he ended up going with Bradley Cooper, but he made the right choice.
Wow. You're one of those people that thinks DiCaprio doesn't deserve an Emmy.
I think DiCaprio is amazing. I love him in a lot of movies, but this was not his movie. Like, he would have sucked as that character. Stan, or whatever
Emmy?
His name is.
Which one? Am I getting backwards? Was it Oscar or Emmy?
Who knows? Awards aren't real. Awards are fake. Okay. What I will say is that there is a connection here with Ron Perlman. So the thing that DiCaprio went and shot instead of this movie was Don't Look Up, the Netflix movie right now that's been tanking on Netflix. It's like a global warming propaganda movie, which has both Kate Blanchett and Ron Perlman in it.
What?
And I'm going to tell you right now, as hot as Kate Blanchett was in Nightmare Alley, I will not tell you to go watch Don't Look Up, because it is a horrific propaganda movie. It's just literally like a bunch of left-wing people telling you how important global warming is and how they're right about everything and how you're wrong about everything. It's like, okay, whatever. But the point is Kate Blanchett in that movie, holy shit, is she hot. This woman must be bathing in the blood of virgins. I don't get it, broadcaster, but something's going on with Kate Blanchett.
Dude, it's genes, man. Some people age with grace, some people fall apart like Skeletor.
Right, but the reason I brought this up is because you're talking about how this might be a meta movie with actors loving it, but like actual people not liking it as much. That's what Don't Look Up is, apparently. I've heard that from multiple sources, that like all of the actors and all of like the Hollywood people love Don't Look Up. And they're really butthurt that actual people hate it.
I'm sure they say that to the media, because that's like, I don't even know, man. I just, in my deepest heart, I hope Kate's fucking based as fuck. I hope so.
Yeah. So getting back to Willem Dafoe a little bit, though.
Why though, dude? Why can't we talk about Kate more?
I see her every time my eyes close, broadcaster. Willem Dafoe, this is probably like one of his worst performances of all time, but it's still good. because Willem Dafoe's a fucking legend, and almost all of his other performances are just like S+ tier. Not really a dig at him. It's just like the character he played, the writing, the role. Like it's all, he did what he could with it, but it was pretty weak for most of his roles. Like, okay, we'll agree with that. But the one part about it I loved is when he took Bradley Cooper to get rid of the geek number one. Remember, like they basically fucked him up to the point where he was going to die. They like take him into the city and drop him off at the Red Cross. And Bradley Cooper's all like, we can't just leave him here in the rain. We got to like get him under the curb or whatever. And Willem Dafoe's like, no, fuck that. Don't pretend like you care about that motherfucker. Hey, listen, steak and eggs on me. Let's go right now. That was his best line in the movie, and it reminded me of Dennis from Always Sunny. It was like something Dennis from Always Sunny would say. And his
gotta separate the wheat from the chaff.
I think his second best moment in this movie was right after that, when they're in the diner eating the steak and eggs, and he gives Bradley Cooper the rundown on like what he's been doing with the geeks, and he explains to him how, you know, he lures in like some homeless guy who thinks he's going to like actually have a real job, and it pays him in bourbon, but he laces the bourbon with opium and gets him all fucked up. Like, I loved that explanation. I loved the acting from Willem Dafoe as he's giving the explanation, eating his like runny, sunny side up egg as he's like telling him the story. And Bradley Cooper's just sitting across from him, just looking at him like, am I eating eggs with Satan? Like, I loved that whole scene. That was a great scene in this movie, and it had a lot of implications for the ending too, which I like as well.
Yeah, I don't know. 2.5 hours to get there.
Back to Kate Blanchett. Oh my god.
Dude, when she opens her shirt and there's just that scar, I was like, who cares, babe?
Who cares? Yeah.
Fucking Bradley Cooper starts kissing that. I was like, yeah, dude.
Yep.
That probably wasn't even on script. He probably just started doing that.
That was improvised.
The way Kate's eyes just kind of like rolled away and the cutscene is like, that was real. Bradley. Wow.
Yeah, so to surmise here, after this, Bradley Cooper starts learning the art of mentalism from our boy Ashford, who he's fucking his wife, and eventually he gets better at it than him, and then he accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally gives Ashford the wood alcohol that poisons him to death. And then, you know, he goes after, what was her name? The female love interest? Molly?
Yeah.
Okay. He goes to Molly. He's like, hey, I have this idea. Let's like leave and like fuck these people. Let's go be better than them. And she's like, I'm not ready for that. And then, you know, a bunch of nonsense happens. This is where that cut that we were talking about, there's a big cut available here. They could have cut right from there all the way to the point where the police show up, and it would have been fine. But I think there's like 20 minutes of bullshit that happens in between there, if I recall. But either way, some shit happens and the police show up, and Bradley Cooper has this coming out party where he does his mentalism on the cop, gets the cop to bounce, and fucking Molly's pussy gets wet, and she's like, okay, let's go now. I'm ready to go. And they just bounce. And one of the good parts about this I liked was when Bradley Cooper went to like the Floozy's house, the psychic who was, you know, cheating with him on Ashford, and she's like, you want Ashford's book back? And she's just like, hell no. That was great. I just love the acting from her.
Oh no.
Like it was just stone cold. I love that. And he just like kind of gave her a smirk and just walked back to the truck. And then you slowly see it fade to Molly being in the truck with him. They bounce. That's the end of the first half of the movie. First half of the movie is a D for sure. I don't want to give it an F because
this is a story for young bucks out there, right? It's a story of going pussy crazy. All right. Look what the pussy did to Bradley Cooper. Made him mad. Started drinking wood with alcohol laced with opium. Okay. Then he became a geek. All right. So you need to stay strong. Keep that seed in you, boys.
All right, Theo Von. Let's get to the second half now, where basically we get the 2 years later, where we are already kind of talked about it a little bit. They're like, it seems more like 10 years later. They're disgruntled. They're not really feeling it like they were 2 years ago, quote unquote, when they were like fucking humping each other's legs.
Money,
Yeah. And they've basically become this like kind of cheap carnival act within like a fancy hotel. And he does this little confidence game thing, his mentalist thing, on Cate Blanchett. Like the very first show they show you on film, Cate Blanchett shows up, and when she the camera first hits her and they show her with her hat on, and like she kind of tips it up and looks up.
That was noir as fuck.
Dude, that was the most noir scene I've seen in my entire life. When I was watching that, I'm like, this is it. This is what this is. And Cate Blanchett, back to you for a second. We haven't talked about you enough. God damn it, Cate Blanchett. God put a little something extra into you. But anyway, she calls him on his grift. She like calls him out and like, you're a fucking phony. Tell me what's in my bag. He guesses,
like a real true grifter.
Yes.
He fucking spins it, dude. He spins it, dude.
He spins it hard. And she's not convinced, but she knows the crowd's convinced, so she just backs down. And she sort of begins her grift on him. And that's what the second half of this movie is. He immediately goes from grifter to griftee before anything can even happen. Like he literally learns his power, gets the girl, leaves, and then immediately becomes the griftee.
Cate Blanchett, equilibrium, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, for sure.
She whipped out the final move at the end, dude. Mm-hmm. Like she didn't teach Bradley, dude.
Yeah. So she brings him into the office because she knows he's a grifter, but she like wants to learn more about him, see if she can grift him. And she immediately recognizes the guy has mommy issues, that Bradley Cooper wants him some Cate Blanchett. Again, we're not blaming. Like this is a safe space. We all understand why. But she takes advantage of this shit fully, immediately, and puts him on this track to make her money and then to frame him as a psychopath so she can steal all his money.
Yeah.
And it is, you can see it coming a mile away, but it still has gravitas when it goes down. Like when she finally reveals that she's been scamming him, like you can still feel the gravity of it. You're like, oh man, Bradley, come on, man.
Yeah, the moment like she saw Bradley walked into that office the first time, like I got like Queen Spider vibes.
Oh yes,
I was like, dude, you are in the layer right now, dude. You're in the web, bro.
Yeah. Let's put it this way: if Microsoft decides to make a StarCraft television series called StarCraft the Series, Cate Blanchett is immediately and absolutely playing Kerrigan, the Queen of Blades. She is the Queen of Blades.
Or let's hear this one out.
Okay.
Pornhub. The company.
Stay with me. Stay with me.
Allows deep fakes back. I mean, no. Okay, let's get back on track here.
So Cate Blanchett basically like starts to build her evidence pile against him while pretending to be his ally. She sends him to the man himself, who ends up being like the main focus of the second half, Kimball, who immediately like goes CIA mode on him. I like this part of the movie too, where he shows up to meet with Kimball, and Kimball has like 3 CIA spooks. Yeah. And he's like, you stand over here. This is called a lie detector, motherfucker. You're going to go. Like, he like puts him on the lie detector. I loved the way that he grifted that lie detector.
Yeah, dude, that was so good.
That was
one
a
of my
work of
favorite
art.
scenes, to be honest.
For sure. It was amazing. And so he gets him on the take, and he reports back to Cate Blanchett, and Cate Blanchett's like, damn, this little pony, I'm going to ride this little pony all the way to the bank. And so she continues to kind of give him information on him so that he can further grift while she's grifting him. It's beautiful. Like, this whole part of the movie is beautiful. Eventually, the little tidbits of information that Bradley Cooper has stop working, and Kimball's like, listen, motherfucker, I get it, and all this shit. You got to give me results. And this is where another great part of the movie comes up, where he goes back to his girlfriend who he stole from the carnival, that he's just like literally abandoned for Cate Blanchett. Again, we don't blame him. And he's like, listen,
one last grip, baby.
I need you to dress as a ghost and put blood on your hands.
It is like my favorite part of this whole movie. Like, the final parts of this movie escalate fast. Let me tell you,
they do.
when he says like, it's that easy, baby. I was dying, because you have to be so psychopathic to have that straight of a face. You're going up to the girl you abandoned, and be like, listen, I just need you to act like this dead judge's girl that he fucking murdered, dude. Like, he just wants some resolve.
And Molly is one loyal bitch, man. Like, I can't believe she goes with it.
She was a good bottom bitch.
Dude, at this point, Molly understands that Bradley Cooper is deep sixing Cate Blanchett. She knows it. And she's like, I'm going to help you anyway. And I'm just like, that is one loyal hoe. Like, damn. That I can't believe that that's happening. But it's happening. And so Bradley Cooper...
Bradley Cooper catches her trying to leave.
Right. Yeah, there's a whole scene we're kind of skipping over, which is one of the parts of the movie I thought was kind of lame. And this could have been cut material, too. What do you think? The whole part with her trying to leave, because
I think it would have been more weight if she did leave.
Right,
and he did get fucked.
And when it happened, I thought she was going to leave, but when she didn't leave and she agreed to help him, it kind of invalidated the whole thing. It didn't invalidate it; it just made it like, well, do we really need to waste 30 minutes on this in a 3-hour movie? I don't think so. We could cut this down a little bit. But anyway, yeah, she ends up staying to do one more grift with him. And Bradley Cooper leads Kimball out into like this really cool snowy park that reminds me of it reminded me of The Shining, the original Shining with Jack Nicholson. You remember that maze that he goes in at the end of the movie in The Shining?
Yeah.
That's kind of what this reminded me of. I don't know if it reminded you of that, but this like weird park that they're in that's covered in snow.
It's literally a maze. It's a maze garden.
That's what it looked like. And at this point, this guy, this is like one of the darkest parts of the movie, I think. This guy just starts like opening up to fucking Bradley Cooper. He just like, it's like, dude, man, I've just done so many bad things. Bradley Cooper, like, you mean like other than like forcibly aborting with a coat hanger your wife? Other than that, he's like, yeah, man, like I'm like finding 17-year-old runaways and like fucking them and murdering them and putting them in shallow graves, and like he just like starts opening up to him. And again, another great moment for Bradley Cooper, his facial acting in these scenes, in this scene specifically with him. It reminded me of Richard Dean Anderson. You know, a lot of people don't respect MacGyver, but Richard Dean Anderson has some of the best facial acting in the game. And Bradley Cooper, I feel like, studied under him with these scenes like where you see him sort of reacting to what Kimball's telling him, and he's just like, "Fuck, dude, I'm like grifting Satan himself." And then his girl shows up, Molly. It's like there's like cheese
and bloody hands.
Bloody Mary shows up, and he just turns around. He's like, "Oh, is that you?" I forget what the name of the kid she's supposed to be playing or whatever is, but like he's like, "Is that you?" And like this whole scene unfolds, and I didn't like it after this point. Like when the actual interaction happened between Molly and Kimball, it seemed like really, at first it's like, why would you think it's her? Like, you're a normal human being. You're not drunk. You're not high. You see a person appear. It's just a person. It's not like an apparition. It's just a person. And you're just immediately like, that's the ghost of my dead kid who grew up 30 years. Like, what? Like, that whole part.
I mean,
I was like, come
that's
on.
totally believable, dude. I mean, he believed the con the whole time.
He did,
People
but come on.
fool themselves into believing that
But
shit.
right, but then like after a few like sentences, he immediately was like, "No, this is a fake. You faked me, Bradley Cooper." So it's like, wait a second, you believed it at first, but then like a couple of lines, you're like totally out. I don't know, like I couldn't. That brought me out of it a little bit. I'm just like, listen, if he is dumb enough to believe it's her in the first place, he's probably dumb to keep believing it's her. How quickly he decided that he was being conned felt weird to me after he accepted it so fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't think he was meant to close the distance. That's why when he started like moving towards her, and Brad was like, "Wait," and then he's like, "Oh shit!" Like that whole.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
that's the reasoning. I get it, but I still don't buy it. I don't buy the character's lack of intelligence than more intelligence just based on him getting a little closer. It's like she wasn't a green see-through glowing apparition at a distance and became a human when you got close. She was a human at both distances. I don't know. I just I couldn't go with that. I thought that was bullshit. But then, you know, as soon as he's like, "I'm going to ruin you. You scammed me." And then Bradley Cooper fucking murks the motherfucker. That was real. That was some real shit.
Punched his fucking nose off, dude.
Yeah. And like the horror of Molly as she watched him do it, that was real too.
Molly just fucking loyal all the way to the end. It was in for a ride, dude. Her innocence was gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, like they make a getaway and then she leaves for real, and
this is where I think the movie could have ended.
It could have, yeah. I think this could have been the ending of the movie. However, we wouldn't have known at that point that our girl, Cate Blanchett, betrayed him. Because this is when we find out we knew that she was going to betray him, but the movie itself didn't tell us that till right now. So he comes back to her. He's like, "Yeah, I killed him. Blah, blah, blah. I need the money. Let's go." And she's like, "Okay, here's the money." And she hands him a bunch of ones. That was some gangster shit. That reminded me of Street Fighter, the movie, when fucking M. Bison handed over the cash and it was Bison bucks. And he's like, "Yeah, that will be redeemable very soon." Okay. Like that is totally reminded me of. She had the same energy as M. Bison in that scene and I loved it.
Dude, she was a mastermind.
Hell yeah.
There's that he's just like fucking clearly he's fucked up and she's like, "Well, here's your reward." Good big guy.
Yeah. And then he's like, "No, I'll tell on you." And she's like, "Oh, really? Well, here are all my recordings. It's going to put you in the loony bin." And again, you know, this will be the final time I say it, but Cate Blanchett literally carries this movie on her back. She kind of is the movie. Without her and her performance, I would have a drastically different view of this movie.
Yeah, no, this is the only reason I kind of stuck around for the second part.
Mm-hmm.
I was really like disappointed in the first part.
So Bradley Cooper starts choking her out, and then the cops show up, or security guards, whatever, and he runs away, and he like runs to a train, and he gets in the train, and then he falls asleep, just like he does on the bus at the beginning of the movie. Now, I like this. This is good symbolism. See, when he wakes up, he's at another carnival. And this is where, like, the whole, like, the first half of the movie comes back into play, and it's where, like, okay, everything that happened in the second half was leading to this part that's going to reference the first half, and that's this whole geek thing. So, let's talk about this. You don't like this movie. This is the twist. I mean, unless you were fooled by Cate Blanchett. I wasn't personally, but maybe some people are like, oh my God, she betrayed him. I wasn't that. But this second part, or this final part of the movie, did kind of surprise me a little bit. I did not see this coming where he was going to become the geek. And I was kind of like, God damn, that is a fall from grace. And the way they sort of pin it together with the same, I'm falling asleep on a bus, now I'm falling asleep on a train. It's like the same thing happening. I liked I don't know what the term is, not visualization, the analogy between the two maybe. I just liked that, the way they dealt with that, and the way that he was, and we kind of gloss over the fact that when he first starts grifting Kimball, he starts drinking heavily. And before that, he was always priding himself on never drinking. And the whole concept of a geek is that they're an alcoholic and they're desperate for booze. So like in the first half, they sort of frame him as like, it's impossible for him to be a geek because he doesn't drink. And then right when he starts fucking Cate Blanchett, he starts drinking. And she sort of leads him into this path of becoming this alcoholic. And then he becomes the geek in the end. Now, what did you think about this ending? This final 10 minutes of the movie?
I thought it was a waste. So they could just not do it.
So
but then again, I was already like on 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I was just really looking for the movie to end.
Right.
The movie just seemed like it didn't need, like, the whole geek storyline could have just not been in there.
It could have,
like,
yeah.
It didn't seem necessary. It didn't bear on anybody besides Bradley Cooper's character, and the only reason that I don't know where I'm going with it. I just felt like I didn't like it. It was dumb. It just felt boring to me. The geeks, like, I didn't even know what a geek was. And then the way, like, there's like, oh yeah, he's an alcohol fiend. I was like, no, that's a fucking zombie vampire fucking eating chickens, dude. That's not an alcoholic.
That's a vampire eating chickens, son. Yeah.
So the fact that, like, the movie ends with him supposedly becoming one of those things is because he drinks alcohol and he's homeless. I don't know. Or he's addicted to alcohol. It just seems, I don't know. Seems like far-fetched and, like, not as suspenseful as they want it to be. You know, they're like, oh, look at that. Bradley became that one thing from the middle of the movie that will, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying now, but it just feels like loose connection. And
I think it probably came across a lot better in the book.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like the shining moments of the storyline were him grifting Kimball. Like from the point on where they were like, it was showed their grift at the hotel, Cate Blanchett getting introduced, and the sessions with them and finding out his past with his mother and dad and stuff like that. That was all cool, but I feel like that's all the movie had to be. Like, they could have whipped up some intro to lead in to that hotel scene, like the whole Carney thing and Molly and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. Molly could have just been his existing wife. Stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not a fucking director or writer. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
The carnival, an hour of this movie felt, maybe if they were two separate movies, but 1 hour didn't make the other hour make sense to me.
Yeah. I disagree with you a little bit there. I think I can see where they get, like, from the book what's happening in this movie, and I get, like, how, like, there's this, like, cyclical thing happening where the beginning is the end and the end is the beginning. I think that the movie, I love Guillermo del Toro. I love most of the shit he's in, most of the shit he does. I think this is one of his weaker offerings. Did you ever see The Shape of Water?
No.
That was another movie he did that's, like, takes place in, like, the 30s, but it's a totally different movie, but it also takes place in, like, the same sort of time period. That was also that before this movie. That was my least favorite Del Toro movie, and everyone loved it. Hollywood loved it. Like it won all these I think it won like the Oscar for best movie when it came out. I believe that's true. I don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure it did. Like everyone in Hollywood loved it, and I thought, I was like, this is his weakest shit. I think that he's kind of going down that road as like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this type of stuff because that's what Hollywood loves, and he's not making movies for his fans anymore, and that's sad. But
yeah,
one redeeming thing about this ending I want to say is, you know, the Carney boss from the end where he like gets Bradley Cooper to become the geek.
yeah,
Do you recognize him at all?
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know the guy's name, but he's been in a lot.
He was in Heavyweights,
Yep.
Donnie Brasco, Minority Report, Meet the Fockers. Like he's been in so many awesome movies as like this like kind of goofy guy. As soon as I saw him, like, oh, it's that motherfucker. I think he's a perfect Carney boss, right?
Wasn't he the fat camp salesman?
Yes, he is exactly what he was.
Yeah.
Remember, because this is his famous line in it, in like Harold. Remember when he was at Harold's parents' house, and Harold's like, "Are there going to be go-karts?" And he just looks at him. He's like, "You bet there will be," with that creepy smile. Hell yeah, dude. Oh,
he had his own show too, the Ballad of
Buster
something.
Scruggs, dude.
Yeah,
and that was a
yeah.
great movie. Did you ever watch that?
No.
It's a better movie than Nightmare Alley, I think. I mean, yeah,
believable.
I don't know.
Didn't have Kate Blanchett probably, but
No, there was no Kate Blanchett, but it made up in other ways. So yeah, so you're not a big fan of the ending, I take it, or the movie in general. That's okay.
the payoff, I don't know, man. Just the first half didn't get me going that well. Then the second half was good, but then the payoff sucked, and I was just like, man, that was 2.5 hours. It just felt like a mediocre movie to me.
Yeah. Before we finish up, I want to give one more prop to Bradley Cooper, because at the very end of this final scene, where where he starts getting the speech about, it's only temporary until we find a real geek, you in? And then Bradley Cooper starts laughing and crying at the same time and says that he was born for it. That was probably some of the best acting I've ever seen Bradley Cooper do. That was really good acting that he did in that scene. And that's the end. As soon as he utters that line, the credits roll. Maybe it's it's not his best movie, but I think that it's one of his better acting performances.
You didn't like Sean Penn and Mystic River? Or
all right, broadcaster, it's time to put up or shut up. As you know, here on the Crack Cellar Podcast, we have a official, patented Ghostbusters rating system. In that system, within that system, on that system, broadcaster, what do you rate Nightmare Alley?
I don't know, man. It's like
You don't know.
it's
I
like
don't know, man.
it's like a gozer.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna give it a B. That's way better than I expected from you, honestly. I didn't think you were gonna give it anything above a C.
I was gonna slime it, dude.
I was expecting a Slimer, honestly, from me.
I can't slime Kate Blanchett.
No, dude. Hell no, you can't. Fuck no.
I mean, it's all right, dude. It's just too long. It's absurdly long. It's like definitively too long.
It is the definition of too long.
It straight up is. Like, some people will be like saying Titanic was long. I was like, Titanic showed some tits. Okay, there was payoff, dude.
Yeah.
And at the end, you were rooting for your boy Leonardo. And they also had the Phantom, dude. They had the Phantom in that movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
The movie was perfect amount of time with the amount of star power that movie had. This movie, it wasted a lot of its star talent. It gave some people that I would say have no star talent too much time, and it didn't have focus. It didn't have laser focus like it should have, which would have essentially been a softcore porno between Bradley and Kate Blanchett. But
yeah, I was really sad. Like, I honestly, like, there were a few seconds during the scene what you're talking about where the scar shows up and you're like, if he kisses the scar, I get it. Like, for a split second, I thought we were going to see Kate Blanchett's tits, and I was so excited. I was like, yes, this is why I watched this movie. But then, of course, it fades out and it never happens.
This movie would have been getting an S immediately.
A hard S. Oh, man. But that didn't happen, unfortunately.
You hear that, Kate? That's all you need to get an official S review from the Crack Cellar.
It's it's weird. I really
full frontal. Okay.
I really thought I was going to give this movie a higher rank than you did based off of the review, but somehow we're giving it the same rank. I'm gonna give it a gozer too. I think it was a good movie. It just wasn't great, and it wasted a lot of its potential. But it wasn't bad. Like, there's a lot of really bad movies out there. This ain't it. This is not the worst movie. It's not the best movie in the world. It's refreshing at times. You know, it takes place in the 30s. It's noir, and it has some really good noir elements. It just has a lot of flaws to it too that just prevents it from. This is not Pan's Labyrinth. Like, this is not Del Toro's best work, and it never even gets really close. The only time it's close is the very beginning during the bus ride that we talked about, where that is where at that point it's so early, you're like, it has the potential to be his best work, but then it just evaporates, and it does some work to recover. It's just has too many flaws. And with that, Broadcaster, we will close out.
Anyways, Pornhub. Deep fakes. They took them away sometime 2 years ago.
Wasn't that weird? Like,
there was a heyday of deep fakes. Dude, let me tell you. We get a Kate Blanchett deep fake.
Dude, I swear to God, like, deep fakes came out like 5 years ago, and like all of a sudden you just saw like deep fakes of like 100 celebrity chicks out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, this is it. Like, regular porn's gone. The entire internet is just going to be deep fake porn from now on. Then after that, you never saw deep fake again.
They got rid of it real quick.
Dude, like, they scrubbed it somehow. Like, I don't even understand how.
It's too strong of a tool, dude.
But how did they do it? How did they stop people from doing it? Like, there has to be a very dark, sinister, shadowy enforcement mechanism for this, because it's hard to get people to not do something that everyone wants to do. And fucking A, dude, deep fakes just vanished.
Well, Pornhub's a CIA operation.